What is environmental perception? Environmental perception is how a person perceives the environment through the brain's ability to process and store information that is gathered from other areas of perception. Interaction between the people and their environment are influenced by several different forms of perception. This one type of perception utilizes auditory perception, depth perception, and visual perception. Sensory perception also contribute to how a person's surroundings environment is perceived. One of the influence of environmental perception is auditory perception. Things that a person hears in her surroundings are processed by the brain. Auditory perception processes both foreground and background sounds. This information is collected by the brain and used in conjunction with information that is processed by other types of perception. The brain is also working to distinguish the sound that should become part of auditory memory. Depth and visual memory also contribute to environmental perception. The ability to determine the relationship between objects is governed by depth perception, and it relies on the other perception, especially visual perception. Visual perception gathers information about what a person sees in his environment. This information is combined with all other perception information to provide a comprehensive overall picture of other aspects of person's surroundings. What is auditory perception? Auditory perception is the ability to perceive and understand sounds visually with specific organs, such as in human ears. Sound exists in the form of vibrations that travel through the air or through other substances. Ears detect such vibrations and convert them into nerve impulses, which are then sent to the brain, where they can be interpreted. There are many factors that affect auditory perception beyond simply hearing sounds. The brain is largely responsible for many processes that can turn a mass and income noise into something useful and understandable. Auditory discrimination is the process by which one is able to note the differences between sounds. This is extremely important to language, as spoken words are understood based on different sounds. Discrimination between foreground and background is also an important part of auditory discrimination. It is important to be able to focus on important noises and to ignore irrelevant and unimportant noises so that one is not overwhelmed by a vast amount of noise. Next is depth perception. It is the ability of human eye to see in 3 dimensions. It is often demonstrated with the measurement of length, width, and height. For example, it is easy to recognize that an image is a photo, since cameras do not have accurate depth perception. That's why when we take a picture, we know the person depicted in the image doesn't have veins growing out of her head, but the resulting photo makes it appear that way. Optical illusions such as this illustrate how our minds perceive the visual image our eyes send to our brains. The brain processes the image and combines them into the final image seen by the brain. Eye depth perception is determined by how well both eyes function separately and how they function together to interpret image. It can be altered by changes to either eye. Lastly is visual perception. Visual perception is one of the senses of the body which allow the brain to intercept and interpret visual light, creating the ability to see. Sight is regarded as a critical sense by many people, as the world contains a great deal of important visual information. Many organisms have developed some form of visual perception, and there are a number of different systems animals employ in the process of interpreting visual stimuli. Environmental perception has commonly been defined as awareness of or feeling about the environment and as the act of apprehending environment by the senses.